A chat with Glendora, a show for living right. A chat with Glendora makes your day so bright. Words of inspiration, jokes to make you smile. Come relax and chat with Glendora for a while.
Listen, honey, would your dream be somebody who has enough influence to bring about a greatly well-planned city?
Yes, but the thing is, if a single person of great influence does it, then that means that the people who live there aren't making enough of the decisions.
I see.
So it needs to be a collaboration, basically. You need to make sure that the people who live there are involved, or else things will get everyone will be mad and they won't like it, and then and so you need to figure out how to introduce things that will benefit the public, and while simultaneously getting them on board, because the literature, right, the science, the research, there's the things that says will help, but if you don't do it in a way that people are interested in, then they get mad, because it's like you're making all these decisions without us, and like we're resentful of that, and like don't want this to happen. And so it's tough, because the way that we do things is set up to make it so that it's easy to make money on land rather than use it to live, right? And so we've been doing things like that for like 70 years, since the post World War II. We've designed everything so that people need to own a car to go anywhere, so that way you have to buy gas, right? You have to buy a car, you have to buy car insurance, so that a bunch of big companies can take your money in order for you to participate in society. That's kind of like, now there's a difference between actively desiring a car and living somewhere where you know you live there because you want to, and you can use the car, versus someone who would like to live without one so they can save money, but there's nowhere available where you can live without having one. So there's not enough opportunities and options for people, is one of the big problems. There's only one or two options, and it's big house and you have to drive a car, or you live in a really big ugly apartment building owned by a big company and they don't care about you. It's like, and there's not really anything between.
Now, I mentioned to you some months ago Dan Buettner.
Yes.
Have you looked into Dan Buettner, which is part of his big life is to design, and he has designed a few cities.
Yes.
Did you look into his website?
I have done some. I don't have any like really in-depth like information available off the top of my head. I do. But it gets talked about a lot within planning. The blue zones are like really big.
Yeah, the blue zones. You know, Austin, I'm going to live until I'm 107.
I'm not terribly surprised.
Because I'm going to live in a blue zone.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm vegan.
Yeah.
And you're still vegan, aren't you?
Pretty close, yeah.
And they all are healthy folks, and they have a good attitude, and they are jolly, and they exercise a lot. Often.
Yes.
And there are 7 of them all over the world. Do you know where they are? Is there one in Sardinia, one in...
Yeah, Loma Linda, California, I think, is one of them. There's parts of Japan. There's somewhere in Japan. I don't remember exactly where in Japan.
Costa Rica, is there one?
There's one in. I believe it's Costa Rica. Sardinia. I don't remember where all of them are.
The oldest living person in the world now, folks, is 117, and I believe he's in South America somewhere. Yeah. And it wasn't very long ago, folks, that the oldest living person in the world was 117, and she lived in between Spain and France.
In Andorra?
Yeah.
Like the little mountain country.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, honey, she was born in the United States.
Interesting.
And her daddy had a Spanish newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
And when she was a teenager, her daddy decided to move back to Spain. And she went back to Spain, and there she became the oldest person in the world.
Yeah.
However, you don't have to wait long. She moved on to heaven.
I mean, 117 is a pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah, do you know?
Actually, I heard that she was 122.
When she actually
What
died.
was that, Amy? Say that
I
again.
heard that she was actually 122 when she actually died.
That's wild.
And who was that, dear?
The lady you were talking about, the woman from Spain. She was 122.
Oh, I was
Wow.
wrong?
Yeah.
She was 117 at one point.
Uh,
She just lived a
Amy-
few years longer.
Amy, keep on correcting me, will you?
Yes.
And how long ago did she die?
I think it was like last year or the year before.
That's not close enough. Can't you tell me on your phone?
Let's see.
Her first name was Marie. Okay, folks. Anyway, why did I bring that up, honey?
Blue
Because
Zones.
Dan Buettner.
Yes, Buettner, yeah.
Let me spell that name for you, everybody. B-boy, U-E-T-T, as in Tom, N-E-R, Dan Buettner. And that's the name of his website, isn't it? Dan
I believe
Buettner?
so, yeah. I mean, if you search for him, you will find him. Yes, he's pretty well known.
Well, the reason I wanted you to look at his website is because he had great success in designing and
Yes,
improving cities
yes.
where
He's
people
a
could
consultant.
walk to work, honey,
Yes.
and where people were much more neighborly
Yes.
and people were much happier,
Yes.
and they had little parks, as you say,
Mm-hmm.
and trees.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's the Blue Zone. Like, some of the most important aspects of it are when people get old, you make sure that they stay present in the community so that they don't just go away. Like, that's one of the most important things you can do is keep them social, active, and present so that people
No.
can see them and interact with them, and like you make sure that they keep doing the things that they gotta do, and you make it safe for them to do that.
Yes, and also the fact that they didn't have to inhale gasoline.
Correct.
Powered
Yes.
products.
Minimal vehicles, if any. Like, the ability to walk around to go places keeps you alive longer, because every day you get up and you walk 2 minutes to go to a little shop to get your fresh veggies or whatever, and you walk 2 minutes to go home. That's already, a quarter of a mile. And if over the course of the day, if you just do that a couple times, you get in a couple miles of walking in every day, and that keeps you like healthy and active. And but you have to build it so that people can.
Austin,
I'm sorry, Glendora.
Yeah.
I was wrong. The woman that you were talking about, Maria from Spain, it said that she died Monday, August 19th, 2024, at the age of 117.
Yes. Okay.
So,
I'm exonerated.
I think the woman before her from France was actually older than her. Like,
Yeah.
No,
Sounds familiar.
Austin, how old are you?
31.
31.
Yep.
So we've known each other, what, 12 years?
13 and a half.
Yeah, 13 and a half. We had good times together, didn't we?
Yeah. Absolutely.
We made so many TV shows. Right.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we did such a good job on the Glendora Franklin Museum, didn't we?
Yeah. I mean, I saw it on the way over.
You did!
Yeah.
And it
Still
was
green.
And you notice that your paint job is still good?
I'm surprised, but I'm glad.
Well, that's because you bought such good paint at...
And I think
what
I did
was it?
2 layers or 3 layers maybe of paint. Yeah.
What was that name? What's the name of that store? Home Depot.
We got a Home Depot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when it was blue at one point, and I painted it purple. It was purple for a couple years, but I think it was purple when it was at the parking lot at Amanda's fireplace, right?
Right, honey.
And then I think I painted it green after we moved it over there so that it wouldn't stand out as much.
We did, and there was a time when it was blue. One year it was blue.
I painted it purple when it was originally blue.
And one year,
Yeah.
folks, the museum was red, white, and blue.
Yes.
Now, what do you hope for the future, dear boy?
At what scale? Like like my own, or like the
Oh no,
the people
for
I
you,
know?
Austin, my friend.
For me, I want to do basically like environmental planning or environmental like consulting. I basically want to like come into a town or a city and talk to people and see what they're trying to do and advise them how to do it in the most like environmentally, like friendly way possible, the most resilient way, so that they can, when climate change keeps happening, that they're prepared. All right, so that things don't get wrecked. And one of the best ways to do that is by using like plants and like as part of your infrastructure. Like, it's better to have, if you got a river, to have a big wide area where you have plants on both sides of the river, so that if it ever floods, they hold all the dirt in place.
Really?
Yep, as a basic example. And so, like, and also that means that everyone gets to see the plants and interact with them, and they feed the birds and the bugs and the squirrels. It's a net positive. It's just when you almost any direction you come at it from, it's a positive. The only negative is that some company can't make a ton of money off it very easily. That's the only downside, and it's not a downside to me. I don't care, but so it's but finding a way to make it happen and showing people it's like, hey, you could save a lot of money, if you do this, because you won't need to fix all of these buildings near the river when it floods, because it'll be protected by all these trees that like to grow next to the river anyway, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I want to do professionally, and then personally, I'm really interested in creating and then maintaining a conservation cemetery, which is where what you do is you take land and you conserve it, right? You start planting all of the original plants and making sure that nobody puts garbage on it. And then what you do is when you use it as a cemetery as well. And so when people die, rather than embalming them and putting all the gross fluids in them, you put them right in the ground so they can turn into plants, basically, as a very brief summary of how it works. You can do it with ashes as well, but you can do it just, with the body as it is. You don't need to do anything. You just wrap them in burlap and put them in the ground and put on a rock that says their name, and then they turn into plants, basically. And I think it's a really, really awesome way of both doing conservation and restoration and providing habitat for animals, but also giving people a reason to care, right? Because it's like, if their loved ones are buried there, they want this place to be nice, and they want it to be intact and healthy. And so by doing this, and then when they visit their loved one's grave, they go to a beautiful nature preserve rather than like a big, like open air like graveyard that's typical. But it's still a cemetery. People are still buried there, and it's kind of really useful for getting people to buy in and care. That's one of the things that I think is the most powerful about it, so that people care about taking care of this space.
Well,
yeah, and it's super. I went to one in Tennessee, and it's really beautiful. It's like one of my coworker's husband is buried there, so I just think it's, I don't know, I'm really attached to the idea, and I think it feels like a good intersection of sentimental and pragmatic.
A good answer.
So that's kind of what I want my personal project to be.
Very good
Yeah,
and very interesting and quite informative.
Yes.
Amy, what do you think of that kind of a cemetery?
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's a little
she says it's
abnormal for
interesting.
now, but there's, I think, a lot of potential for it, and showing people how it's done and having examples that it's actually can be really great is how we get people to understand that, okay, yeah, this is like a pretty cool thing to do, and to
Yeah.
not be afraid of it.
Do you know any graveyard jokes, honey?
Do you?
Yes. The epitaph on the tombstone of the hypochondriac. Do you know what it said?
No.
See, I told you I was sick. And
That's funny.
the man who was a fan of Beethoven's music,
Yeah.
and he went to the composer's grave, and he's standing there and he hears all the Beethoven symphonies coming out of the composer's grave.
Yeah.
But they're all being played backwards, folks, and they're all being played in the reverse order in which they were written. Beethoven's 9th, Beethoven's 8th, Beethoven's 7th. And he says to the graveyard digger, I don't get it. I'm trying to hear the composer's symphonies. They're all being played backwards, and they're all played in the reverse order in which they were written. And the graveyard digger says, don't you get it? He's decomposing.
That's funny.
What about the one with the little boy who went to school and said, I was at a cemetery yesterday?
Yeah, can you tell it, honey? And the teacher said, was there anybody dead? And what did he say?
He said, yes, they all were.
Okay, that's pretty
Good for you, Amy.
good.
Well, Austin, is there anything else that you would like the world to know about this interesting field?
I get, like, one of the current things I'm working on is I've got a partnership with Edge Hill United Methodist Church, and Edge Hill is the neighborhood that I live in, and so this church is really well known for just like being forward thinking and trying to be really a positive influence on the community about ensuring that everyone is welcome there. They're really great people, and I was talking to them because I was basically mentoring a neighbor like who lives across the street from this church, and like giving her plants that I've grown, because I really like to grow native plants, which is plants that are from North America. A lot of the plants that we use in horticulture at Home Depot and at the hardware store are not from the United States, or they don't have to be. It doesn't have to be exclusively the U.S. Canada and Mexico are reasonable if you're close to them, but it's the plants that grow in the region you live in, because the animals need those to live. They need them to eat those. Like a caterpillar grows by eating the leaves of an oak tree, right? But if you plant, one example that's common in Nashville is a crepe myrtle. It's from South China, and they're cool trees, and they play a wonderful part in the ecosystem in their home range of South China. But in the United States and North America, and if you plant them anywhere else, whether it's Europe or South Africa, anywhere where it's a kind of comparable climate, none of the animals know what they are. They don't really understand that it's like that they can eat it, or sometimes they can't eat it. So it takes up a bunch of space, but there's no food for the animals that comes out of it. And so when you plant only stuff from Europe and China and anywhere else where you can pull stuff from.
And this has what to do with the United Methodist Church?
So what I'm doing is I'm teaching the congregation. I'm running a series of classes.
Excuse me, Austin.
Yeah.
You hear that beep? Does that have anything to do with our apparatus?
I don't think so. I think it's warning to change the battery of it at some
Amy,
point.
did you put in excuse us, folks? We'll be right back. Did you put in AC, Amy? Austin, do you see an AC charger here? You see?
No, Glendora, that beeping sound is your smoke detector.
Yeah, it probably wants a new 9-volt battery.
What?
My guess is that it needs a new 9-volt battery.
Well, listen, is it going to finish our dissertation that you're in the middle of?
It'll probably beep a few more times, but like it's not constant.
Well, are we going to lose our program, honey?
No, we'll be fine.
You sure?
I mean, there will be a couple beeps, but like it's only every minute or so it'll be fine.
Okay, honey. So you're teaching the
Yes.
congregation.
So what I'm doing is I got a bunch of seeds for plants that grow that are from Tennessee. You know, Tennessee coneflower is the real big one because it only grows around Nashville in the wild. People grow it other places too, but in the wild, that's the only place that it grows in the whole world. And so I got a bunch of seeds for it. What I'm going to do is teach. The only real difference is that because we live in the like temperate latitudes where winter happens, a lot of plants protect their seeds by, over the course of hundreds of thousands of years, they've developed like mechanisms or coatings on the seeds where they need to experience winter before they'll wake up and grow, before they'll germinate. And so you need to stick them in the fridge in a baggie for like a couple months, or you can put them in a milk jug with dirt in it outside over the winter so that they experience winter. And what this means is that this mechanism is in place so that the seeds do not sprout and fall and then die from the cold. It means that they will not grow until springtime, so that they have the whole year to get ready for the next winter. And so because of that, if you just sprinkle them on the ground or in a pot in the springtime, then they won't grow.
And what does this have to do with your partnership?
So I'm basically teaching the congregation how to grow these types of plants, and it's very easy. All you got to do is know how to give them cold stratification is what it's called. But give them winter. You got to make them have winter.
Okay.
And then after that, you can grow them like normal flowers. And so what I'm doing with them is I'm walking them through this step, and we're going to grow flowers. And in the springtime, we're going to get together and design a garden with the flowers that the congregation is able to grow. I'm going to help too.
Good.
I'm growing a bunch so that if anyone like makes a mistake or gets busy and can't take care of it, and like they're not able to grow anything, there's stuff that I've grown that we'll be able to use. So it's to teach everyone and get everyone excited about it, and to make the front of the church beautiful and full of colors and flowers, and feed the bees and the butterflies. Because if we don't,
Good for you.
we got to put in plants that they can eat, or else they're going to run out of food, and that's not good.
Well, that's just made for you, honey.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
In the process, are you going to become a Methodist?
Probably not, but I'll probably go to service a couple times, you know.
Well, listen, Austin, anything else you want to say before you bid goodbye to our folks?
I mean, if anyone, is excited about that, I'd recommend you look into what plants are native to where you live and just learning a couple of them. And there's almost always something that you can start out with that's easy to grow. You can grow it in a pot. You can grow it in the ground. You can grow it and then give it to somebody if you want. There's all kinds of things you can do. If you're in an apartment, you can't plant stuff in the ground. That's when pots are awesome.
And where do you find these answers? Where are the answers? How do you know of all these things?
There's a lot of scientists who are really into it, and they've been writing books for the general population. They've been turning it. They've been making sure to say it in normal people words, so that you don't need to have a PhD or a big degree in science. In order to, anyone can understand it enough to do it, and then they learn by doing it, and that is really valuable knowledge too. So,
Amy,
yeah.
Do you have anything to add, dear?
No.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really into it for a couple years at this point, but most of the time, people just need encouragement. They just, if you encourage them and they get started, they'll succeed with something. That's the great thing about these plants is they grow in the woods, they grow in a field, they can grow in your yard.
So, folks, he is from the Albany Capital District.
Yeah.
And this show is coming to you from Nassau, New York. Now, this is Nassau-Rensselaer County up in
not
near
Nassau
Albany.
County in Long Island. That's 150 miles away.
In that direction.
Yeah, south.
And you're on Christmas vacation, and you're going to return to Tennessee when?
So I'm going to Boston this weekend. And
Oh,
I've got
good.
some time in Boston. I've got a lot of people I need to keep in touch with.
Oh, hundreds.
Not hundreds, but a dozen, give or take.
You were there 5 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, keep in mind some of them don't live there anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
But I have a couple of friends are getting married next year, so I'm going to check in with them and like see what's like, kind of hear what they're talking about and what they're planning for their wedding, so that I just to say hello, and it's exciting that they're getting married
And speaking of married,
yeah.
and New Year's Eve, folks, I mean Christmas Eve.
Oh yeah.
Yes, my husband and I were married on Christmas Day, and it was near Boston, Wellesley Hills,
Mm-hmm.
the First Congregational Church by the Reverend Dr. John Elmo Wallace.
Yeah. When was this? 1950?
Yeah, that fits right in.
Something
Well,
like that.
Austin, anything else you want for the last word?
Let's see. I mean, I can keep spieling and proselytizing about my about caring about your local plants and animals indefinitely. So I'm trying to see if there's any any wrap up moments.
Ad infinitum.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I guess so. I mean, I guess what I'll say is like every little bit helps. If you don't want to, like, some people are removing their entire lawn because it's all European lawn grasses that don't feed any bugs really, right? And they don't feed any animals, and they just take up a lot of space. So what some people are doing is they're taking all of it out and they're planting a meadow of wildflowers. So there's hundreds and hundreds of different types of flowers, and it's awesome. It's super cool, really beautiful. They changed out the seasons, so every day is a little bit different. But if that's too much, you don't got to do all of that. You can just put in a couple and see how you like it, and that helps.
All right, dear.
Yeah.
Are those your final words?
If you're only going to pick one or two types, milkweeds are a great place to start because the monarch butterflies need milkweed. Genus is Asclepias, Asclepias. You don't need to remember that, but if you see it, you might recognize it because I said it. Genus is Asclepias, but milkweed.
If a person really would like to talk to you more about this, can you give them a contact right now?
Yeah, I have an email I use specifically for that kind of stuff. It's fernandez.horticulture@gmail.com.
Again, Austin?
So Fernandez, FernandezHorticulture, which is
Fernandez.horticulture
@gmail.com.
at Gmail?
Yes, I'm happy to provide tips. Now, I've been working in Tennessee for a few years, so my knowledge is very much anchored in what it's like to do it in Tennessee, but anywhere east of the Mississippi I can help, and I can provide pointers for anywhere in North America.
Good, honey.
Yeah,
Fernandez. Go ahead.
.horticulture. So
Fernandez.horticulture. That's a nice.
@gmail.
That's a good moniker.
Yeah,
dude.
no, it's easy to remember. I don't have any weird wrong spellings or anything. It's it's a common name and a word.
Okay.
So like there's no weird numbers or anything. It's just that. So if people are interested, feel free to send me an email, and even if you're in Maine, it's way colder than Tennessee, I can still get you started.
Now, folks.
Yeah.
One more graveyard joke. Be kind to your undertaker. He's the last person in the world to let you down. Take care, everybody. Say goodbye, Austin.
Right. Goodbye. Happy holidays, or I guess if you're watching this after the holidays, I hope they were good.
And Amy, say goodbye.
Bye.
Grace and peace, everybody. It's God's universe. Live by God's laws. Stay vegan. Be kind. We send you a Christmas present, and we put it in a little box with a ribbon around it, and you open it up, and you know what's in there for you? Joy. Amen.